welcome to Proles of the Round Table's special patrons-only episode, Dialectics After Dark. This is our time to not only discuss leftist history over a few beers, but leftist current events, and then whatever else pops up. I'm Ethan, your host for this evening, and I'm joined by Justin and Jeremy. Just a couple of the fellas here tonight.
The brothers J.
Yeah, there we go. We received a pretty good response to our last episode, so we're gonna follow a similar format. Maybe throw in a few new things. We're workshopping it here.
Yeah.
So
it's good times.
Yeah. So just since we normally do this, I'm drinking an Asahi, which I don't know anything about. It tastes pretty good though.
It's imperialist Japanese beer.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not great, but the beer tastes pretty good. It says it's the beer for all season. Super dry in quotation marks. It's kind of concerning. Justin, what are you drinking?
Well, because I can't afford to continue to buy new beers for every podcast that we record, and I'm saving my new beer for Sunday's actual podcast episode, I'm drinking Penner again.
And I'm also staying on brand for the third episode in a row. I'm drinking Tsingtao. So
I mean, that's the people's beer. You can't really go wrong.
Beer. That's right. Can't fuck around. I do have an anecdote related to Ezra, our fallen comrade who isn't here.
Oh, they did want to get across that they're drinking La Croix in their heart.
Oh, well, funny you should mention that. Today I was on campus at the university, and they've got like those tables set up for like random people to like drag you in to like have conversations, and so they'll offer you shit.
What? This is an actual thing?
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, you want to come get a lanyard, bruh?
And it's they're like selling
recruiters, or
it's recruiters. It's like
they're
churches.
Like they want you to sign up for mailing lists. Yeah.
Dude, they're already like colleges are already bleeding people dry. What are they fucking? What's happening?
So anyway, there was a religious organization there. And there was like an old dude who was probably in his 60s, and then like a middle-aged, probably the youth pastor, and they were accosting people as they walked past the library. And this old man yells out to this kid, and he's like, "Hey son, you interested in a Red Bull or a LaCroix?"
Amazing. And it's when you're walking through the halls dying.
Yeah, as I'm like, oh, fuck.
Amazing.
Student debt. Help.
Ha, yay.
Nice.
Cool.
It's a great anecdote. Thank you.
Yeah. And so tonight's episode is brought to you by MeUndies. No, I'm just kidding, but that's like every other podcast. But this one is brought to you by you.
Yeah. We don't have sponsors for Dad.
And viewers like you.
Yeah, listeners like you. Because, that's why we're getting to do this, and we have a lot of fun. Hopefully you have a lot of fun, so, we're going to get into it. So, last time what we did was we just opened up the Washington Post and the New York Times and just like went to town, and we're going to do the same thing. And so I'm going to start with the Washington Post, published
Real quick, as like a call out to the listeners. We need to name this segment.
Yes.
We couldn't think of a good name. So
that's true.
We need to name this current events segment. So if anybody has any good ideas, please holla at us in the Discord or through the DMs or whatevs.
Send an email,
Slide into the DMs.
Hell yeah. All right, so we're going to start with Washington Post this time, which is, published by, again, friend of the show, Jeff Bezos. And it says right at the top here, democracy dies in darkness. So I'm excited to...
Is that a threat or...
From Bezos, it probably is.
Yes, exactly. I cut your power. All right, so there's a lot of...
And then Musk will hand it back to us.
Good King Musk.
Good King Musk. Oh, fuck. Whatever happened to that guy?
He's trying to fix the schools in Flint.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, here's some filters, even though you guys have explicitly asked for new pipes.
Right. Thanks for that.
Cool.
The optics of filters. And
yep.
God, I could get into the theory of the obsession in the United States with technology, but I'm not going to do that.
I'm not doing a whole episode on that.
We do a whole episode on that.
And we should. That's a good one. Okay, let's see here. There's a lot of just really kind of dark stuff that I don't necessarily want to talk about.
Yep.
Trump officials weigh new plans to split migrant families. Nope, no thanks. It's bad, and fuck everybody involved in that. Next.
like for a heads up, those camps were all opened under Barack Obama. So
Yikes!
Yeah.
Ooh. Bummer.
So Trump, if you want to donate to our Patreon.
Oh God.
we've already been accused of being Russian bots.
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we really?
Well, I guess not this podcast in particular, but
Oh, but like,
Yeah.
CSS got
CSS got called out as
amazing.
being Russian bots.
So good. Okay, let's see here. How a Democratic House would check this erratic president? I don't really
Fuck.
want that. Let's see here. Stuff about the Supreme Court. Unfortunately for Trump, approval ratings are based on more than unemployment rates.
Wow. Fortunately for Trump, approval rates don't mean shit.
Yep.
Oh God, I wonder what this says. Hold on. Oh, that's right. You can't read anything
Yeah,
without.
paywall, man.
Fuck, this sucks. All right.
This is like Dialectics After Dark.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna go to the op-eds, which you can read for free.
Oh, okay.
But this is also where some of the darkest shit is.
No.
Yeah, let's see here.
I got a notification one time when I was on, I think it was the New York Times, and it was like, looks like you're using an ad blocker. Please disable this ad blocker or you will not be able to see the content.
Never.
Or you can pay for a subscription and then you can see the content. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck y'all.
Okay, here we go. Someone in the Discord wondered if we were going to talk about this, and we are, but like from an interesting angle here. So this is an op-ed published in the Washington Post. It's called "The U.S. Should Never Turn a Blind Eye to This Sort of Inhumanity." And it's written by John Brennan, who served as the director of the Central Intelligence Agency from March 2013 to January 2017.
He's got a lot to say about human rights.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. So it appears increasingly likely that Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi was detained and killed at Saudi Arabia's consulate in Istanbul. There's still much that we don't know, but if such an audacious act was carried out, it almost certainly would have required the approval of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And so basically, from reading this, what he's saying is that here we go. I'm just going to go to the conclusion because like that's really where he says everything. I am confident that U.S. intelligence agencies have the capability to determine with a high degree of certainty what happened to Khashoggi. If he is found to be dead at the hands of the Saudi government, his demise cannot go unanswered. Ideally, King Salman would take immediate action against those responsible, but if he doesn't have the will or ability, the United States would have to act. That would include immediate sanctions on all Saudis involved.
Bullshit.
A freeze on U.S. military sales to Saudi Arabia.
Bullshit.
Suspension of all routine intelligence cooperation with Saudi security services.
Fuck off.
And a U.S.-sponsored UN Security Council resolution condemning the murder. The message would be
that
clear.
will happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be the concession. Yeah, I know we're not going to do anything meaningful, but there will be some harsh words.
The message would be clear.
DSA 2020.
Oh, man. Whew. All right. No, the message would be clear. The United States will never turn a blind eye to such inhuman behavior, even when carried out by friends, because this is a nation that remains faithful to its values.
Damn it.
Yeah, we've never done that before. Never turned a blind eye to the people that are our allies.
If you're not aware, currently the United States is giving Saudi Arabia fucking weapons, shitloads of money, intelligence.
Yep.
They're like doing drone strikes for them, and basically what all the stuff that you may or may not be.
They're doing everything but flying the planes for them. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, if you've heard anything bad about what's happening in Yemen, the United States is 100%, well, like 98% responsible for the stuff that's happening. So, like, the guy who used to run the motherfucking CIA, getting
the most trustworthy of organizations.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're probably the ones who crashed our hard drive.
Fuckers.
Yeah. The discourse was this is the discourse police. The takes are too hot.
We heard you speaking too much truth.
Oh God. Yeah, and so fuck John Brennan. I'll see you in hell.
Yep.
Yeah, this is so.
You're going to heaven, Ethan.
You're the only one of us.
You're the only one of us.
Well, we'll see. There's a bunch of stuff on Saudi Arabia, like the next headline. I'm not going to read the article, but it's like, will you work for a murderer? That's the question a host of ex-generals, diplomats, and spies may soon face. And then, Is Saudi Arabia's supposed friendship worth shrugging off the ensnaring and killing of a critic? This is awful. Yeah, this is bad. Let's see. As climate worsens, wealth inequality will too.
That's shocking.
That's true. Why bother to have children in a world racked by climate change?
Oh, pain.
Yikes. Yeah, see, there's just a lot of bad stuff going on here.
Yeah. I don't know, like 12 years from now, it's irreversible, right? Like, we're fucked forever.
12 is the outside figure,
Yeah.
I think.
So, like, I said this elsewhere, but I am confident that we're going to see liberal climate change deniers coming out of the woodwork in the next few weeks or months as it becomes increasingly clear that you have to make a radical change. And if they trot out fucking Hillary Clinton and the same like milquetoast Democrats,
Michael Bloomberg, 2020.
Michael Bloomberg 2020, like that's not good enough. And even if you filled it with a bunch of like Bernie-crats, that still wouldn't be good enough. You need radical change. But as soon as the liberals sort of get that into their head, they're like, this veil will fall in front of their eyes, and suddenly they'll be like, "Well, I think you're being alarmist. Like, let's just wait it out and see what happens."
No,
Why not both?
Something that's really interesting about the climate change thing is that for decades, conservatives have been saying, like, no, climate change is fake, and liberals and communists are just saying that it's a thing because they want a radical restructuring of society.
Or it's China's propaganda to, yeah.
So here's the thing. They're correct on that, in that if climate change is real, it requires you cannot go on with business as usual.
Right.
So conservatives are right about that.
Yeah.
They just think that
I think liberals are going to do shit.
Well, right, exactly. So that's really interesting and that's why I totally agree that liberals.
Yeah, we're going to see liberal climate change denial in the next few months.
Because they're going to be confronted with the limitations of their ideology.
Yeah.
And they're not. Most of them aren't gonna want to change. They're gonna be like, well, Elon Musk will come up with something to filter all the blood out of the seawater when New York and the entire eastern seaboard drowns. Cool.
Christ.
And this is when Noam Chomsky will become like the Pied Piper.
Cool. Good stuff, everybody. All right. Stop worrying about a second civil war. Americans are too pessimistic to believe war can solve our problems.
Yeah, revolution is not a civil war.
He
says, fantasies and fears of a second civil war have seldom been more popular than in the past few years. In the 2017 novel American War, great title, Omar El-Akkad envisions war erupting when the Deep South secedes over northern efforts to outlaw fossil fuels.
Oh, stop.
All right, I didn't know that we were reviewing fantasy novels.
Christ.
Washington Post. But let's see. In Foreign Policy last fall, Chris Arkenberg warned that waves of violence among ideological factions could either splinter the republic into small competing confederacies or enable a hardened, tyrannical federal government.
What? That's actually, that's actually a fairly possible
probably,
scenario.
sure.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But so this guy says, but these fears are unfounded. And in fact, these professed fears about our future actually provide hope.
What?
Perhaps
danger is actually good.
Climate change? Do you mean opportunity for innovation?
Job creator?
It's a job creator.
We're going to need so many jobs like burying all the drowned bodies.
We're going to need seawalls.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to need guards for all the fences to keep out the immigrants from, or the refugees from countries that are flooded.
If shit gets bad, I foresee Colorado reneging on its deal of giving water to California and Arizona and New
100%.
Mexico. Because what is it, 75% or something of the water that flows through Colorado out of Colorado is given away to,
or not the Arkansas,
or is
what river?
It's the Arkansas, the Colorado.
Those are the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones, yeah.
But
we
totally
give away most of our water. It flows out. But we don't stop it and keep it and use it for Coloradans.
So why we got so many damn droughts.
But
yeah.
But it's all based on an agreement that was made in 1919 or something. So if shit gets bad, I guarantee you Colorado's going to be fuck off. And then you'll get that fracturing of the nation.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as climate change starts to hit the fan,
it's gonna get rough.
It's gonna get rough. Yeah.
So start stockpiling beans.
So vote Hillary Clinton in
Yes,
2020. That'll stem the tide.
Hopefully Chelsea Clinton.
God.
No, stop!
Whoa, what was it? It was it's like Hillary 2020, Chelsea
Yes,
2024, Michelle Obama 20 goes through. Yeah, we love dynasties. Monarchy. No, but so anyway, so this idiot. But these fears are unfounded.
Dynasty.
These Boo. Stupid. The Obama regime. All right. In fact, these professed fears about our future actually provide hope. One of the most striking differences between now and the Civil War era is how we talk about our national goals and collective actions. Civil War Americans anticipated a different future than we do. They declared...
Weird. Big if true.
They declared optimism about the future and believed violence could hasten it. We express anxiety about tomorrow and fear that warfare will destroy it.
What?
Let's see. So I'm just gonna let's see. John Brown, friend of the show, a real one.
Resurrect John Brown and give him power armor.
John Brown 2020. The corpse of John Brown 2020.
Yeah.
John Brown embodied Civil War Americans' faith that violence would reform America and usher Christ's return. Brown believed that God had chosen him to end American slavery, which I would argue is probably true. If you believe in God, motherfucker was decapitating slave owners with a sword. That is some divine...
Badass.
He's a paladin.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then
I mean, the reason... people are like, oh, well, it didn't work. Yeah, because people ratted him out. The reason he was going to Harper's Ferry wasn't just to hang out there. He was trying to get guns to take them out. And then one of his, people who were not his people ratted him out, and that's why it didn't happen.
Episode on John Brown. We gotta do it.
We could do a whole episode on that.
No, we will. I will. If no one else wants to do that, I will run that. I fucking love John Brown. Okay. So this is all talking about in the Civil War how we had different attitudes than they did then.
No way.
So, it was enslaved millions considered America's violent abolition an answer to their prayers. The heady optimists of the Civil War in the North and South raced toward Armageddon. In contrast, our modern crisis is shaped by Americans feeling blindsided by unseen forces and questioning their power to direct the future according to plan. The firebrands of today who hope to stoke the passions of a divided nation encounter a society that is less confident about its future. Let's see. The cultural temperaments of now and then provide stark contrast. We spend billions of dollars on dystopian blockbusters. They spent their lives in utopian communes. Our millennium threatens human extinction from climate change. Theirs promised human salvation from the second coming. The 21st century's approach.
Is this article?
Hold on. This is the conclusion. The 21st century's approach to tomorrow may seem gloomy, but it has its advantages. Instead of inducing apathy or despair, envisioning a perilous future has raised awareness, sobered citizens, and increased collective resolve to change things before it's too late. Our future is different from Civil War America because we imagine it differently.
It's too late already.
That's such a meaningless article.
Yes, utterly.
We're scared, so that means we want to change things.
I guarantee that's like the baby boomer pat on the back, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Things are shitty, and we know we fucked everything up, but now things are so bad that people are waking up. Good job,
done.
guys. Good job.
I guarantee that if you
all boomers are accelerationists.
So you can follow this guy on Twitter at Die Hard Rebels. I'm not logged in, so it won't let me follow the link. But I guarantee that this guy thinks that everyone needs to register to vote.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the solution. Sorry, guys. Armed struggle. Protracted people's war. But it can't be that protracted. That's the problem.
Let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's assume that you are a liberal, right? And you think that the Democratic Party can fix things, right? In the next 12 years, can fix things. And you think that the Republicans are the monsters, and they're going to destroy things. So what you need is the next 12 years for Democrats to be in charge and correct things, right? How are you going to prevent a red tide from sweeping over the nation in 4 years or 8 years when your particular political candidate doesn't fix things?
Well, and the thing is, Democrats don't want to win. They don't want to be in control because they want to keep this idea of like, well, we just don't have control, and like, listen, we're trying to be the reasonable ones. That's why when you got motherfucking Obama elected, fuck off. Justin's showing me this guy's Twitter.
No.
And it's just liberal. It's just liberal bullshit. No, that's why when you got motherfucking Barack Obama elected and a Democratic Congress with a supermajority, they couldn't even pass a fucking card check bill to like make unionization easy. They couldn't do jack shit on healthcare because they didn't do anything substantial.
They could have passed the Affordable Care Act with the public option, with greater subsidies, with price controls. If they'd wanted to, but they don't want to.
That's exactly it.
They want it to seem like it's the Republicans' fault that we didn't get any of these things.
Like liberals,
it's their fucking fault.
Liberals, you had it in your hands. We were this close.
There are no liberals listening to Dialectics.
No, I know. I'm trying to send out my energy to the.
Actually,
world.
there are.
Bryce, hello.
Bryce. Fucking Bryce.
I don't think he's
not a patron. I don't think he's a patron.
We have a hate listener.
We have an emoji of his face.
No shit. No shit. I played the first Dialectics After Dark episode. I sent it to my my like Australian liberal friend, and she was like, "This is actually pretty good. It's funny as hell." And I was like, "Yes, it is."
That's how we get them. Anyway, so to any liberals who may happen to be listening. You had the chance, but it wasn't a failure of anything except the actual desire. Like you could have in 2008 we could have had like a social democracy.
Yeah.
You could have had it, but they don't want it, and they still don't.
No, they had no interest in it.
Exactly. Okay, so this headline cracked me up. I don't know if we'll read it. The false but persistent rumor that Neil Armstrong converted to Islam.
The fuck?
I don't know. What the impulse to claim the first man on the moon says about universal human nature. After ruining mayonnaise, can millennials save America?
Fuck. But also fuck mayonnaise.
Millennials also ruined American cheese.
I saw that.
Cheese is dying. Critical support for millennials.
Apparently, yeah.
Mocking millennials has become a sport and a pastime. You've heard most of the complaints about the trophies for showing up, the Instagramming of tedium, the use of Venmo to buy street drugs.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
God, I would have loved Venmo when I was younger.
Sounds great, though. They ruined lunch, motorcycles, and marriage. They give us selfies at funerals and placenta pics from the delivery room. As they move into the dominant demographic position in American life, they've made doorbells obsolete, better to text, vacations passé, too busy. I wonder why that is. God. And face-to-face conversations a lost art. See doorbells.
And self-checkout.
They prefer liquid soap to a simple bar. They're killing the post office, phasing out breakfast cereal, dashing dinner dates, ditto mayonnaise. In the era of identity condiments, it's too bland.
Identity condiments.
What the fuck?
They're the lamest generation. And worst of all, they don't vote.
Let's get back to the identity condiments. What the fuck?
Identity condiments sounds like something that was invented as a criticism by Jordan Peterson.
Timothy Egan.
Mayonnaise is
I just said, no, mayonnaise is fine.
If y'all are playing the Pearls drinking game, now is your time to take
a shot.
If you add spices to mayonnaise like this frankly very concerning Chipotle mayonnaise, that's cultural Marxism.
It's not even mayonnaise anymore. It's aioli. It's aioli at that point, and that's cultural Marxism right there. It's what it's all about. It's what it's all about.
So anyway, this guy's a contributing op-ed writer. He's a liberal. He's worked at the New York Times as a writer for 18 years. So I don't think he knows anything about the millennial plight. I think only two of us here are millennials.
We're all millennials.
Wait,
so Jeremy's the last.
I'm the earliest.
You're the first.
Well, because
Jeremy's the first millennial.
Justin and I used to be part of what was known as Gen Y. And then they just fucking like yeeted Gen Y into the sun, like just got rid of it altogether, and now we're millennials.
That's okay. I'll claim millennials.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So Jeremy's the first millennial. Justin's the second one, and I was born several years later.
dead central in the middle.
I'm like right in the middle, and it goes up into it goes from your age and however old you are to
his.
My son is the
your
youngest.
Son a millennial?
Yeah. I and my oldest son are both millennials. Yeah.
Well, that's I was gonna say, my 19-year-old sister is a millennial. I have my oldest students were born in 2000, and I think they're technically like the last millennials.
Yeah, the last millennials were born in 2000. Yeah.
I like that the generation now is Generation Z, just kind of implying that like we're done here.
We're done. It's over. Finished.
We're
done.
Okay. But so anyway, what this guy is saying, so he's saying that like people blame millennials, which is bogus. Boomers gave us Donald Trump, the draft dodging, tax evading, wife cheating poster child for 60s bred self-indulgence. It's boomers who are bankrupting the nation with $1 trillion deficit from a selfish tax cut. And it's boomers who are ignoring climate change while the earth convulses and heads toward an early end. So basically what he's saying is...
he's saying that millennials are liberals and boomers are conservatives.
Yeah, I guess. Government by the few and well-connected will continue so long as the emerging majority does not exercise the most powerful option for a citizen. Armed struggle.
Guillotine.
Yes!
No. The good news is that turnout increases by about 1% each year.
No.
But we can't afford to wait. Millennials, this one's on you.
No! We're not voting. Fuck you.
Just the whole thing is that... Gotcha. Here we go. The other side of that, liberalism pierces its tongue again.
What?
The Democratic Party has become Donald Trump's unwitting ally. Liberals, you don't know how bad you look. No, and he says... So, Brett Stevens, if you're not familiar, is like... a fucking idiot. No, he's like on the op-ed board of the New York Times, and like he's their like token conservative, where like they were slashing all of these like reporter budgets and like their climate, like they had good climate change reporting and they stopped, like they slashed the budget to that so that they could hire idiots like this guy who makes like $1 million+ to shit out like this garbage. And so he's saying
capitalism is a moral system.
And it's efficient as well.
Extremely efficient.
Let's see.
The best people will rise to the top.
So it's just talking about like, oh God, I can't even read this. He's complaining about uncivil politics. Like Democrats are not nice enough to Republicans, and that's why we have Donald Trump.
I'm pretty sure the like death of McCain proves all of that wrong, as they were all like fawning over him, like falling all over each other to like compliment this war criminal.
Oh, that was gross.
I've had like an especially bad week at work as far as like hearing disgusting like racist calls. You know, and I can't get into what my employer is or any of the details of that. But
you just hear a lot of reactionary shit.
Yeah, I hear a lot of reactionary shit. And today I heard a conversation between two elderly folks, and this lady was super upset at Nancy Pelosi because she had said on the news, she had said,
Pelosi.
Yep, right, Comrade Nancy Pelosi had said
Nancy Pelosi, if you'd like to donate to the Patreon, we will fully support your candidacy.
That the Democrats needed to kick the Republican Party while they were down, and she was like incensed by this comment. And I was just like, God, the narrow scope of your like political views is just
that part is rough. Just like, yeah, it's bad.
She's like, they aren't even humane. We just need to. I don't even know what. We just need to get rid of them. Is what she said.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that literally though, like
that sounds like fascist to me. Like when people talk about like get rid of like anybody that like, offends you,
unless you're saying fascists
or the bourgeois.
Yeah, get rid of the bourgeoisie. Yeah. Oh, this is dumb. Okay, let's see here. Why doesn't architecture care about sexual harassment? They're talking about the field like architects.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah, no, it's a weird.
Are like buildings harassing buildings? Like,
well, and I mean, and you can talk about like
gender.
Well, and so that's a really interesting... Like,
I need to know this.
No, I'm serious here in that, like, I read some stuff about... I mean, you've probably heard of, like, hostile architecture and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've read some stuff that talking about there's a lot of probably unconscious, like, phallic imagery in buildings.
Probably not unconscious.
Well, maybe not. But, like, I guess you could say in that sense buildings are gendered.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
So,
yeah, I'll buy it then. Yeah.
All right.
Architecture doesn't care about harassment.
Angela Merkel could save Europe.
No.
Why won't she?
She won't. And she can't.
God,
she doesn't want to.
Well, no. Here's what this person. This is from Julianne Smith, who is a fellow at the Robert Borscht Academy. or Robert Bosch, sorry. Excuse me. Let's see. Campaigning in the spring of 2017, Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany declared at a packed beer hall in Bavaria that it was time for Europe to, quote, take its destiny into its own hands.
That sounds real fash.
Coming from a German chancellor who...
No. I mean, I like beer, though.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, nothing wrong with beer halls, but, like, unless you're doing pushes out of it.
Apparently, if you get, she's the Catholic Democrat Party. What the fuck is the name of the party?
Christian Unionist? No,
I forget what
Christian Democrats. Yeah,
the
right.
Christian Democrats. Apparently, you just get a Christian Democrat drunk and they turn fash.
Well, there's another party, the Christian Social Union, which is what I was thinking. So many Christian parties. That's kind of weird.
Bizarre.
Yeah, no, it's... So she said that in the face of Britain's vote to leave the European Union, Hungary's slide into illiberalism, and an American president who viewed the European Union with disdain, Europe, she argued, needed a leader who could push forward reform and push back against its detractors. Miss Merkel vowed she was ready to be that leader. Unfortunately, she's failed to fulfill that pledge. And so basically what this is talking about is that, let's see, she's saying that in her final term in office, she needs to summon the courage to work with Mr. Macron out of... to lift the European Union out of its existential crisis by making good on some of the French president's proposals. The future of Europe depends on it.
Yeah.
So basically what it's saying is...
The future of neoliberalism depends on...
So, yeah, exactly. I mean, because, yeah, what they're talking about is citing Macron, who is presenting innovative proposals, who wants... Let's see, what does he want to do? He proposed dozens of ways to deepen European integration, the creation of a European Union finance minister, a joint military force, a Eurozone budget, a European intelligence agency, and a common asylum policy, to name a few.
Europol already exists, y'all. Like, that's not a thing that needs to be
right,
created.
So Macron is suggesting these things, and Merkel is not taking the bite, or is not taking the bait. That's the word. Biting the bait. And
biting the bait?
And
I've
so
never
it's
heard that.
Baiting the bite.
Whatever. And so,
Stop.
yeah, so she's saying the future of Europe depends on Merkel working with Macron and his innovation. Macron.
Macron's
yeah,
macarons.
so that's done. I'm going to have a peach Macron.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Lacroix.
Lacroix. Dumb. Okay. Californians
It's like a Red Bull or a Lacroix.
Okay. Internet hacking is about to get worse. There's one I saw earlier today. I need to find it. Is the Supreme Court broken? You think? Is the concept broken?
Yes.
Let's see. Here's it. Like, this is dark. Not just because like there's like liberal shit here, but just like every news thing is terrible. Like a torture choice for immigrants, your health or your green card. Like,
but we got free press, y'all.
Freedom of the press.
It's just what a terrible. Yeah, we live. This is bad.
We live in a society.
We live in a society, and it's bad. Let's see. No, I gotta find this one because it was so wild. Okay. Watch this blob of cells become an embryo in high resolution. Gross! Fuck off! Oh god! Stop!
The fuck is wrong with you?
If Ezra was here, they would be mad at you.
Yep. Apologies to Ezra.
Oh god. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. This is what I was looking for. This is how Trump can win the Cold War with China. Tariffs and military threats won't address the core challenge. And so this is by Fareed Zakaria, who, if you're not familiar, has a prolific career of plagiarism for like CNN. And hold on, if I can get in.
I'm in.
I'm not in. I'm locked out.
I'm outside.
I'm outside.
I'm like 10 minutes away.
I'm texting you because I'm not gonna ring your doorbell. Millennials have killed doorbells.
Fucking millennials.
Damn it. Fuck. So the Trump administration's most significant and lasting decisions will be about U.S. policy towards China. So since the end of the Cold War, we have lived in an era of almost no genuine great power competition, which has led to the emergence of a dynamic global economy and a huge expansion of international trade, travel, culture, and contact.
If you look at it purely from the perspective of the United States.
All of this has happened under the United States' uncontested supremacy.
Fuck
military,
off.
political, economic, and cultural. That age is over.
Good.
And so this whole next paragraph is about how China's economy is growing. 9 of the 20 most valuable tech companies are based in China. Beijing has also become far more active on the global stage, ramping up its defense spending, foreign aid, and international cultural missions. Do you mean social imperialism?
Social imperialism.
Its Belt and Road Initiative, infrastructure
Gee.
investment in dozens of countries, will ultimately be at least 7 times larger than the Marshall Plan, if not more, in inflation-adjusted terms.
The Marshall Plan.
Which was the biggest infrastructure development program in human history. He doesn't say that.
Belt and Road Initiative is fucking rad.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what these reactionaries say.
Support for President Xi and the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah.
Gee.
Okay. The Trump
Ezra would approve.
the Trump administration has many of the right instincts on China.
No.
Beijing has taken advantage of free trade and the United States' desire to integrate China into the
This
global
is where
system.
the liberals come together. They're like,
Yep.
yes,
Horseshoe
hate
theory.
Asia.
fuck.
Horseshoe theory is real.
Okay, so I did. In my cultural diversity in the United States,
Oh boy.
the assignment was we were supposed to pull out different news articles that were on the same subject,
Okay.
and you were supposed to compare and contrast across
Oh, I think I
a
know where this
liberal
is going.
source, a conservative source, an international source, and a quote-unquote alternative news source, right? And I was like, fuck this. I'm going to go straight to China, and I'm going to find a liberal source and a conservative source, and I'm going to find
And it was
all
the
the
same
same bullshit. And I used Breitbart and the Washington Post.
Oh!
And so Breitbart was obviously way worse, but the message was the fucking same. They were arguing the same fucking points. Like, Breitbart was obviously way more, like, vulgar and disgusting in its descriptions, but the Washington Post article literally used the term Red Emperor to describe Xi Jinping.
Really?
Yes. Red Emperor.
Oh,
how
that
fucking
Red Scare
Orientalist.
Orientalism. Holy
How
shit.
Orientalist. They referred to the Kim regime in that article for no
Awful.
reason other than
Awful.
to like point out the fact that it's a regime and not a government. It wasn't even relevant to his fucking topic. But
terrible. Christ, dude. Oh.
Yikes.
Okay, so
yikes.
yeah, taking advantage of free trade.
I'm gonna post the slide that I made because it's like the Venn diagram of the words they used, and then the crossover just says yikes.
That'll be the episode image.
There you go.
Were Washington to be more strategic, it would have allied with Europe, Japan, and Canada on trade and presented China with a united front, almost guaranteeing that Beijing would have to acquiesce. It would have embraced the Trans-Pacific Partnership as a way to provide Pacific countries an alternative to the Chinese economic system. Okay. Vice President Pence recently gave a fiery speech that came close to declaring we're in a new Cold War with China. An outright labeling of China as the enemy would be a seismic shift in U.S. strategy and would certainly trigger a Chinese response. Like, yes. It could lead us to a divided, unstable, and less prosperous world. I guess, whatever. Here's hoping the Trump administration's thought through the dangers of such a confrontational approach.
Fucking hell.
Implying that our president in the United States has fucking, like, I don't even want to get into it.
Nope.
Like, yeah, obviously, like, liberal politics, electoral politics are bad and stupid, but, like, our president is a fucking idiot.
Yeah, the conclusion of both articles were, like, the Breitbart one was like, Trump is on the right track. And the Washington Post article concluded with, I don't know if Trump is on the right track, but at least he's doing something.
God damn it.
Oh, man. All right, hold on. Buckle up, guys. All right, history tells us that if China is indeed now the United States' main rival for superpower status, the best way to handle such a challenge lies less in tariffs and military threats and more in revitalization at home. The United States prevailed over the Soviet Union, not because it waged war in Vietnam or funded the Contras in Nicaragua.
Nope.
Because Gorbachev undermined it from the
But
inside.
because it had a fundamentally more vibrant and productive political economic model. The Soviet threat...
Kill yourself. Just kill yourself.
Delete your account in real life.
President Xi, delete this account.
The Soviet threat pushed the United States to build the interstate highway system, put a man on the moon and lavishly fund science and technology.
Only because they were competing with the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
There is no funding for research
that's
anymore.
like a valid point, is that the Soviet Union kept the U.S. capitalism feet to the fire, essentially.
Yeah, exactly,
because
they
were
had
like,
to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because they were like, well, if these fucking
If-
commies
if
can put
the-
someone in space,
I'm
Don't get me
I'm firmly
started.
convinced if like the collapse in 07, 08 had happened while the Soviet Union was still as good as it was
Could have had revolution
in the late 70s,
70s, yeah.
then we would have had global revolution.
that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, you may be right.
But they wouldn't, because the reason that there wasn't a major collapse like that is that there were major controls on the U.S. economy.
It wouldn't have happened.
Right.
It wouldn't have happened if you had a strong Soviet Union.
The labor unions only started to decline in power and participation after China turned against the Soviet Union.
Man, single tier.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right.
Bummer.
What you got, fam?
Yeah, so I'll just finish this off. Tariffs and military maneuvers might be fine at a tactical level, but they don't address the core challenge. The United States desperately needs to rebuild its infrastructure. True. Fix its educational system. True. Spend money on basic scientific research. True.
That's also true.
And solve the political dysfunction that's made its model less appealing around the world. If China's a threat, that's the best response. So, like...
It's not going to happen.
Right, well, and that's the thing, is like, yeah, I agree that, like, yeah, the United States needs to, like, fix all these things, but it's not going to because it's fundamentally incapable of that because we have a...
broken.
Exactly. Well, no, it's...
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing, is like, even if it was working as intended, it still can't do most of those things.
No.
Let's have So the Soviet Union was explicitly communist, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah,
is that the reason that the U.S. has its feet held to the fire with China, because it allows such a vibrant market, or at least the pretense of a vibrant free market, quote unquote.
It's vibrant.
Vibrant private market? Wait.
No,
No,
you
we're
said
just-
the pretense.
What?
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 What are you talking
Pretense?
No, pretense.
No, I was
Pretense.
laughing. I was laughing at the fact that he used vibrant like 3 times to
Oh,
describe
did he?
secret
Okay, I missed that.
capitalist over here.
Shit.
Pretense.
It's a vibrant
and-
free market.
It's a vibrant... My
Self-crit.
my market is vibrating right now.
Stop.
God damn it, Ethan.
Come on!
Ezra's not here.
First
Ezra's
time-
not here.
Ezra was
Ezra's
here.
not here.
I know,
And you
but
start
listen,
using
I have
fucking
never
like.
said... You got... Oh, man. All
Nah,
right.
you just deleted it. Is what happened.
All right, guys. Let's land this plane. Like, let's figure this out.
anyway.
But I wonder if, because of the allowance of capitalism within China, if that is the reason that it, number one, hasn't affected the U.S. in the same way, and number two, that it has been able to exist without constant criticism from the U.S.
Well, because I think there's a couple of things that can happen there. Is one, if anything bad happens with China, it's because of communism.
Right.
And if anything
And
good happens, it's because
of
of
their market.
capitalism.
That's the market.
It's because, they're not purely communist, and therefore the reason these good things are happening is because of capitalism.
Yeah, no, exactly. But then anytime, like, something be like, this actress disappeared.
Yeah.
Communism. She's back, by the way.
Yeah.
After paying her fucking taxes.
A million Uyghurs. A million Uyghurs.
jeez.
Even though that's an unconfirmed fucking number with zero backing whatsoever.
But, like, it just gets repeated instantly because you can say whatever the fuck
Basically,
you want.
okay, so here's what happened. So Radio Free Asia, which is
cool.
like CIA
God
mouthpiece,
Just like straight up.
is like
not
there's a
even-
million Uyghurs in prison. They're in prison because of their religion. They're a Muslim minority, right? And then a UN special counsel looks into it, but they don't actually go to China to investigate. They just go, big if true. And every
I went
fucking,
online and I saw this.
they were like, we read it, and they were like, that's serious if it's happening. Big if true. And like every Western news outlet like just
Took out
prints
they
it and
just print
says
the big.
in a UN special report, it turns out that there are 1 million Uyghurs in prison in China. The fucking oh god. Anyway, so that's like, but again, I think when something bad happens in China, the Western press and libertarians and conservatives and liberals alike agree and say, oh, bad things, communism. And then if something good happens, like the only nation in the world to increase standard of living in the recent years, If they have an increase in quality of life at end of life, that's because of the market. That's because they open up the market.
Exactly.
So it's capitalism. So
it's a no-win situation for anybody on the left, basically.
Haven't they eliminated extreme poverty?
Yeah, they've eliminated extreme poverty, and they have overtaken the United States in terms of quality of life in your elder years. They are predicted to overtake the United States in length of life, like how long people live in the next 5 to 10 years.
The U.S. has led that forever.
Yeah, they're predicted to take that over.
We just pump our bodies full of.
Yeah.
Just like that fluoride in the water.
Well, it's because we're dying earlier. Right. The main issue here. It's that shit has gotten worse for the average American.
Millennials have killed America's life expectancy. And so that's just such bullshit. It's just that.
But yeah, that's why we're not in a big rush to compete with China, right? Like we're not developing our own machines which suck pollution out of the air and turn them into gems. That's not something we're.
But if the Soviet Union had done that, guaranteed the U.S.
Well, right, and I think another thing with the Soviet Union was that it consisted of a lot of white people, and so in the United States there was more of an identification with oh shit, we could do that, because Orientalism is so deeply baked in that we view China and all that society as a fundamentally other thing, and so it's they just do things different over there.
I guess. I mean, maybe, but
I'm not saying that's all of it. I'm just saying I think that's a part of it.
I think Orientalism extends to basically anywhere that is outside of North America, not including Mexico.
That's true. No, that's true.
And
you're right.
All of Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia, even today Russia, which is nothing like the Soviet Union, is still the victim of Orientalist beliefs they hunger for despots, right?
That's true. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's complicated.
So for our next segment, we're trying out something new, and it was threatened or hinted at in the last episode. We could do a whole episode on that. There are a lot of little things, fascinating historical tidbits and those sorts of things that we could do a whole episode on, maybe. But it would also we could also serve those purposes by just doing a brief 10-15 minute segment. And so we're gonna do that tonight, and Justin and Jeremy are going to tell me about something. Well, what are you going to tell me about?
So, on tonight's episode of We Could Do a Whole Episode on That, we're going to discuss Lenin's will, Lenin's testament, I suppose is what it was.
Was that the one where he said Trotsky was his rightful successor?
Sort of. Okay, so just as a little bit of background, because we need to, context matters. So in terms of who were the Bolsheviks, right? Not all the peripheral people, but the people who were leading the revolution, who were involved intimately in its course. You basically had Lenin, you had Trotsky, you had Stalin, and this dude named Svendlov, who was very important in the early years of the revolution, but unfortunately died in 1919 from some sort of health issues. And they each kind of had, I suppose, their positives, their negatives, their ups, their downs, their good things, their bad things, right? But anyway, because Svendlov was out of the picture, it was down to, as far as people who were seen as the leaders of the revolution, it was Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin. Trotsky having been in the Soviet Union for longer, he didn't get exiled as soon, and he got back quicker because he escaped the fucking gulags in Siberia. As Stalin did that 3 or 4 times.
It was more than, I think it was 6 times.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
I think it was literally 6 times.
There was in fact, he and Trotsky both escaped on ox carts as they were being rolled out to the gulag. They were peace, and they,
that's wild. I had no idea.
Ran back. So it's funny. So anyway, so Lenin was his position, his official position, was the chairman of the Council of the People's Commissars, He initially offered Stalin the position of the Commissar of War, and Stalin was like, "No thanks, that's not me." And so then he offered it to Trotsky, who actually was fairly competent. If we're gonna look at the things which Trotsky was good at.
Gobbling up positions offered to him is very high on the list.
Gobbling up.
No, we can be diplomatic here.
Being an opportunist is one of them.
We can be.
But he served pretty well. Like he was a competent general.
He did a pretty good job up until 1922.
But Stalin was sent to mop up his
I know.
It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Listen, there's a reason that you went on Rev Left to talk about Stalin and not Trotsky.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, fuck Trotsky. Like in every possible.
Listen,
way.
we don't like Trotsky here, but we can recognize when he did
make
things.
some. He did make some contributions to the military. In terms of. Anyway, so Lenin creates this position for Stalin, and it is general secretary of the party. So he was sort of the focal point of everything, like the NKVD, not the NKVD, it was the Cheka at that time, right? So whatever the secret police or whatever it was. So he was the focal point for any sort of operations on that front. Practical decisions were all funneled through Stalin. It was the Cheka, yeah. So he was not only really good at the nuts and bolts shit, he was extremely intelligent at executing them. He was well loved by everybody who had things which passed through his hands. Like they would be like, "Oh shit, he handled that so well."
Yeah.
So everybody loved Stalin. He was extremely well liked.
Because what wasn't his main thing before, his position, his main position before Lenin died, wasn't he the commissar of the, what was it, the pursuit of people or nationalities, the Soviet nationalities or whatever?
Yeah. He was in that position. He also dealt with agriculture and what was the other?
He was the Workers and Peasants Inspectorate.
Yeah. So anyway, that was prior to Lenin naming him general secretary, because that happens in April 22nd of 1923. But anyway, he dealt with a lot of the practical side of running the Soviet Union. Lenin wasn't a figurehead by any means. He was intimately involved in everything, but it was very big picture stuff. So in the party congress in the spring of 1923, so shortly after Stalin is named general secretary, Trotsky is crushed. I mean, just completely and utterly fucked because people liked Stalin better. In May of 1923, Lenin is ill. He's already had his first stroke. He's bedridden. He can no longer speak clearly.
He got shot in 1918, and ever since, or was it 1918?
I forget. Yeah,
it was a couple of years before, and I isn't it true that ever since
he had health
after
issues.
That point he had a bunch of issues?
He had health issues. He had health issues going back before then, though.
Didn't he? Okay, because I thought he was super healthy and athletic until he got shot.
But in any case, so he
had his... I would like to add, just real quick, that Lenin was his position. You said he's big picture, which is absolutely true.
Yeah,
he was the only position in the history of the Russian Socialist Federation and the USSR that held the title or mantle, I guess I should say, of actual dictator.
Yes. Lenin was the
only one that was not accountable to a central committee or Congress or whatever you want to say, Presidium, that could basically oust him in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Anyway, so Lenin was the only dictator of the Soviet Union.
But they loved it that way. The Russian people created.
But I mean, the thing is, people look at him and they're like, he didn't do any of the bad stuff.
Right? Yeah, Stalin's the bad guy. Lenin's the good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Lenin is the good guy.
I love Lenin.
All the good shit.
But Stalin.
But if your critique is that Stalin was a dictator, but Lenin was a good guy. You have it backwards.
That's silly.
Like Stalin was not a dictator. He did not have universal power over the Soviet Union.
At any point in his entire 30 years that he was the general secretary, he could have gotten his shit revoked.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
And to me, if we talk about Orientalism,
Yeah.
Which we talked about earlier with China, if you talk about Orientalism, the idea that a nation that is as large as the Soviet Union, all of the people there, that all of them were too stupid or brainwashed to rise up or to stand against Stalin, because he was so scary and they were just so brainwashed. To me, that's peak Orientalism.
I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of people over the largest geographic area on the entire planet.
Yeah, and
for 30 years.
That's my point. If you think that they're too stupid to have to be hold on, this person's this person is literally ruling me with their fists. Let me push back. If your take on that is no, they were just too stupid and brainwashed, then you are Orientalist.
People did push back. They were fascists.
It's true. There was other pushback as well, but I'm talking about the majority of the population.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Which was not fascist.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So anyway,
that was a good aside.
in the Party Congress, Trotsky gets just utterly fucked.
Yeah.
There's a letter which comes out in May on May 23rd of 1923, which is supposed to be from Lenin, right? Lenin he's bedridden, right? He's not able to speak clearly. He cannot write on his own, so he's dictating to secretaries, a series of them who kind of rotate in and out, and they would write in shorthand or type in shorthand, abbreviations, people's initials, and then that would go out to the Central Committee. Somebody there would turn around and put out a typescript, and then that would go back to Lenin, and he would initial it, just sort of. Again, he couldn't write very well, but he would initial it to say, "Yeah, I said this shit. It wasn't made up," right? So in May of 23, he dictates this letter which criticizes all 6 of the people who could have succeeded him. And Trotsky comes out somewhat better than the rest of them. He looks better out of the 6 people who were potentially, and it was Zinoviev, Kamenev, Bukharin, Trotsky, Stalin, and I forget who the 6th one was.
It says Pyatakov?
Pyatakov.
Georgy Pyatakov?
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of him.
Nobody. He's a loser. Low energy Pyatakov. So anyway, so he criticizes them all. He says, here are all of their shortcomings. Here are the things that are wrong with them. Anyway, so this goes out, and again, Trotsky kind of looks like Trotsky's not bad. Trotsky's better than the rest of these 5.
I think it calls him bureaucratic, and he focuses too much on paperwork or something.
Yes,
I believe is what is.
Yeah. So the problem arises here in that Stalin, as general secretary, was in charge of kind of the comings and goings in terms of what was happening around Lenin. And the doctors had advised Stalin that Lenin should by no means have any interaction with news about the Soviet Union, being involved in serious crisis-oriented issues, because if he did, there was a likelihood he would have another stroke.
Right, he needed to take it easy.
Take it easy, exactly. And so Stalin took that seriously. He was like, nobody bring anything into Lenin that might upset him. And so
Lenin was very frustrated by this.
Yeah, Lenin hated it.
I'm sure.
Absolutely hated it.
He was super hands-on the whole time.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking hated it. And so Krupskaya, Lenin's wife, brings him a letter from, was it Trotsky?
Trotsky gave her the notes from like one of the CC meetings.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she brings it into him, and he reads it and gets upset. And so then Stalin just fucking destroys her, just like yells at her, is like, how could you possibly do this?
Yeah.
Like, don't you give a shit? Like, this is the doctor said not to do this, and you went against their wishes, right? So Krupskaya,
where does he do this
unhappy.
Publicly?
No, he just does it to her, like,
to her face.
I think it was over the phone, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
How
do we know about this?
These are all everything. Okay,
I know.
Yeah, if you can say anything about the Soviet
Yeah.
Union, it's that they were bureaucratic as fuck and they
Yes.
kept records
of
shit,
everything.
Okay.
Yes. I believe it was a phone call.
Okay.
Between them.
So anyway, like he just like yells and screams and shits on her. So so she hates him, and Lenin's pissed off too because of the way he treated his wife, disrespected his wife, and then also because he really Lenin wanted to see these things against the doctor's wishes, right?
Right.
So, and now we get to the weirdness. Okay, so in December of 22, theoretically, so this is theoretically before the list of the 6 successors.
The
criticisms of the 6 successors.
After his stroke?
After his stroke,
okay.
But theoretically before the 6 successors, right. Lenin dictates a denunciation of Stalin.
Okay.
Saying he's dangerous, he should not be trusted, he cannot be trusted, get rid of him, right?
Huh.
Theoretically. All right.
It's basically like he basically says that he's too harsh. That the something along the lines of like the mantle of power is too much for him. He will
But here's the thing.
This episode brought to you by the ISO.
But the thing is, it doesn't come out until June of 23. So a month after the criticism, which does not result in anybody being like, well, let's get rid of Stalin.
Then this other thing comes out?
Then this thing comes out, which was supposedly written in December.
Oh.
Okay. So, basically the testament says get rid of Stalin, right?
Not really.
Well, sort of.
It just says that he shouldn't be in charge. Yeah.
Why?
Basically
Jeremy, what you just said was definitely sounded like he shouldn't be in any
right.
sort of position.
He should not be in a position of power.
Yeah.
Right. He should not be in a position of power.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so Krupskaya takes this to, I believe it was Kamenev. Anyway, there's 3 of them that see this: Zinoviev, Kamenev, and Bukharin. They all see the letter, and they all sort of discuss amongst themselves what they're going to do. Zinoviev suggests that they implant themselves within the Secretariat and undermine Stalin and then remove him when it's politically convenient.
Oh, jeez.
By whatever means is necessary. Okay. You can run with that however you want to run with it, right? Kamenev backs out of that and is like, we don't need to get rid of him. And in fact then undermines Zinoviev and his political power. So the shit about this is we know that the Soviet Union kept extremely detailed records of everything. Every fucking thing had a note, a report, some sort of attachment to it. There is no typescript for the denunciation of Stalin, which means that somebody typed it up with the abbreviations, with the initials, without anything being spelled out. There is no signed or initial typescript, which means that Lenin...
And they were getting everything else signed by Lenin.
Yes.
All the other major documents that came out of this time period
yes.
were written in shorthand. So they're like, the short, blah, 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 like notes. Like you would take notes. They would give it to him, he would sign it, and then he would go back and type it out.
They didn't do that for this.
No, they'd type it out first, then they'd take it back to him, let him read it, and then he would sign it to say, yes, I agree, this is what I said.
But they didn't do that for this.
But there isn't one that exists for that particular thing. Okay.
Well, that's because Stalin just destroyed it when he
That's what Trotsky was
Yeah,
saying.
well, you would think so, except, okay, there are 3 different versions of this thing.
What?
There is the one which was shown to Kamenev, Bukharin, and Zinoviev.
Oh, God.
There is the version that the Trotskyists parade around, which emerged in 1927. So this is 4 years later. There's a different version of it, which is way harsher.
That sounds
way more critical.
Seems legit.
Seems legit.
Sounds like Trotsky.
And then there's a third version, which is printed in a newspaper in the Soviet Union in 1933.
All right.
What, printed in the Soviet Union?
Yeah.
What's in that version?
It's pretty close to the original.
Okay.
It's
So
differentiations.
which
in
is
words.
not
it's
the
the one.
Trotskyist version?
It's the one which Stalin responds to.
Oh, okay.
Because he did. He was like, Lenin said this thing and whatever. But like, so it's so suspect. However, even if you believe it's real and somehow the note initially got lost in the fucking shuffle, if you think that Stalin was a dictator and you believe in this sort of great man of history thing where one guy just controls the whole like shebang, and you think that's bad, right? Like that should not be. Why do you think it matters whether Lenin wanted or didn't want Joseph Stalin to be in charge of the Soviet Union? Like, should it not have been up to the will of the people?
Well, Hitler was elected.
No, he wasn't. I mean,
No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
So,
Don't get into it. Don't get into it.
But like if you look at, so there was a vote put forward, a referendum by Leon Trotsky in 1927, in which he said, if an imperialist power attempts to invade the Soviet Union, we should depose Joseph Stalin because he is of the right wing. He will murder his opponents in that sort of a dangerous situation. And he used the example of when the right-wing Jacobins murdered the left-wing Jacobins in... Yeah. So, anyway, so his example is Germany invading France. And so he says, if there's an imperialist power that comes to our gates, depose Joseph Stalin, okay? It's put to a vote to the entirety of the party. All of them, every single member of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, the CPSU. Trotsky gets 6,000 votes in favor. Well, that sounds like a lot. I mean, that's a lot of votes,
6,000
right?
people.
6,000 people voted in favor. 725,000 voted against.
Wow.
So that means that 725,000 people supported Joseph Stalin, even in the most dire of situations, and opposed Trotsky. And you want to tell me that it matters whether Lenin gave a shit about who was in charge? It doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's ignoring the fact that the letter is probably bullshit
To
anyway.
begin with, yeah.
So,
Not to mention again, so you talked about the disputing of the letter's validity in itself. Even if you subscribe to the great man theory of whoever Lenin said should succeed him should have succeeded him, which I think is bullshit. If that's true, Lenin was the all-knowing
God
god of communism,
all-seeing
yes.
eye.
And
I mean,
if
he was,
and if
but-
he wanted Trotsky, then it should have been fucking Trotsky. Even if you believe that is true, you have to think about the conditions in which Lenin was saying these things. He was under a lot of stress. Yep. He was in a lot of pain. Yep. He was essentially delirious. Stalin had just rebuked his wife. This was the second time that Stalin had rebuked his wife. And so for him, it was a personal attack, right? Yeah. And so the idea of, like, as he says in the will, quote unquote, is that he's too harsh to run, to be in charge of things. You have to understand the context of when those things were said. And if Stalin rebukes Krupskaya for basically killing Lenin is how Stalin sees it. Wow. I'm not saying that that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
But it's from Stalin's perspective, that's how he sees it.
No,
right?
yeah.
Because Stalin loved Lenin.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And
they
so
went through the shit together.
Fuck yeah. And so, whereas Trotsky was a Menshevik, but I'm just whatever. Okay, so yeah. But anyway, so
crying, laughing emoji.
So of course he's going to think of Stalin in a negative light. especially
for talking shit to his wife. Yeah.
First of all, he talks shit to his wife. Second of all, he's the one keeping all the information from the CC from him, right?
Right.
So from all of the political workings of the Soviet Union, or I guess it wasn't the Soviet
And you're saying it's because he was concerned about his health.
Right. It doesn't really fucking matter, because if Lenin thought so highly of Stalin that he created an entire position for him to be in charge of basically like overseeing all of the revolutionary happenings that were going on at the time, then that means that he's thought enough of him to think that he should be trusted to be in charge of, at the very least, the overseeing of everybody. And so maybe from Lenin's perspective, who's the literal dictator of the Russian Socialist Federation, maybe from his perspective, he didn't want Stalin to have exclusive like dictator power, but he didn't. He was accountable. He was one vote in the Central Committee.
Thanks, fellas. No,
Yeah.
that's fast. I mean, I didn't know most of that, so that's super interesting. And I do think that raises like, yeah, that makes us think about, for those of us who stand the Soviet Union. Sorry. For those of us who like are interested in this history and think it has something relevant to say to us as leftists, like that's a really interesting question. That early on in the Soviet Union is looking at issues of succession and individual power and things like that. So yeah, that's super interesting. So I think that about does it for this month's episode of Dialectics After Dark. If you have thoughts about this, if you liked something we said, if you didn't like something we said, like let us know. Tweet us, send us an email. We love feedback. We're just
Send us a telegram.
Yeah, if you want to come to my house, don't do that. But like anything short of like speaking to me in person, like yeah, go for it. No, but I know that we're really interested in feedback for this. Like we're having a great time having patrons, and like once again our Discord is like everyone's like fronting pretty hard in there. It's great. And yeah, but if just let us know your thoughts. Like if there's stuff you want us to talk about. So I think that's gonna do it for this month. And so today's Friday, and on Sunday we're gonna be recording our episode about the cinema of the Soviet Union. So that'll be fun. There's just always more content coming out. I mean, we have like really cool things on the horizon, stuff I'm excited about. So like the proletarian future is so bright. No, sorry. No, but honestly, it's we're excited, and we're glad that you're along for the ride. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.